What's going on, guys? So, I am planning on finishing up lesson 8 with you guys. Lesson number 8, we did the entire first page minus one question yesterday. We just didn't do number 4 because it was pretty much the same thing as 3. Hey, what's going on, Alyssa? How you doing? Um, so yeah, yesterday we just did the first 3 questions. It was just doing more practice with the piecewise stuff. I'm only going to do one question with you guys, and I say it's one question, but really there's going to be multiple parts to it, and the only 2 parts that I'm really going to care about are the graph and the writing as a function, because the last part is just going to be solving it, and that's the easy part to figure out. Okay. So, I'm just kind of sitting tight to see who's all coming in right now. Why is my chat not working? There we go. All right. It was working on the one screen, but it wasn't working on the other. All right. So it looks like the usual are in here. So I'm just going to kind of go with it. If some people show up late, they show up late. No big deal. So I'm going to jump down to the second page, number 5. Again, I'm really only caring about A and B because that's going to be the practice with the piecewise stuff, creating the equations, creating the graphs. So this problem is one reason why piecewise functions actually exist in life, especially for the area that we live in. It's because of snowstorms. And this is actually talking about the rate of snowfall within one storm. I believe this is considered, it says a 9-hour snowstorm, so a 1-day storm. So they're saying in order for us to figure this out, we have to write a piecewise. So I'm going to read it out. It says, use the following information. During a 9-hour snowstorm, it snows at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the first 2 hours, at a rate of 2 inches per hour for the next 6 hours, and a rate of 1 inch per hour for the final hour. So it says write a piecewise function that gives the depth of the snow during the snowstorm. My suggestion, I shouldn't have written it out this way. This was my bad when I created this question last year. I should have done the graph first, because creating the graph is going to be much easier than creating the equation. So we're going to do A and B backwards. So I want to do B first, and then I'm going to go back and do A. So on your graphs, you probably do not have these lines right here. I drew in the X and Y axis. So I'm just going to ask you guys to draw that in. And we have to represent 2 things. We got the Y's and we have the X's. And the 2 different things we're talking about with the snowfall is the amount of snow that has fallen and the number of hours that the snow fell. So I hope that you guys always remember, I say the X value always represents time. So in this case, X is just going to represent hours. So that means the Y is going to have to represent the snowfall. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to graph what this word problem is telling us. So it's a 9-hour snowstorm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it out a little bit. I'm going to skip like every other line. So this will be at 0 hours down here. And I'm going to skip every other line and go 1, 2, all the way up until I get to 9. And that's going to represent all 9 hours. Now, as far as the snowfall goes, we don't know the total amount of snowfall yet. That's what we're going to figure out as we graph it. All we do know is before the snowstorm had occurred, we're at 0. So we know we're starting at 0, 0. So I'm just going to read through it, and we're going to figure out how much snowfall has fallen, and we're just going to go from there. Okay. So the first part says use the following information during a 9-hour snowstorm. It snows at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the first 2 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the graph on the left too. Maybe I should set up the Y's just to be safe. So on the Y part of the graph, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go up 1, and I'm going to skip lines all the way through just to be safe. Oh, should I skip lines in this? Yeah, I did it on the bottom. I'm going to do it on the side too. Hopefully I have enough room to do all this. If not, then I'm going to feel very, very dumb that we're going to have to erase all this. Let me do the math off the top of my head for a second. 1, 2. Yep. Can't do it. My bad, people. Can't skip on the Y side because otherwise we're not going to fit everything on. So when we go to do the Y's, we have to do every line. We don't have a choice. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was my fault. If we did it the other way, we're going to have snowfall that was going to be over 9 inches total, so it wasn't going to fit. So I'll just stop at 10 for now. Eventually we are going to have to go higher, but it's just easier having the numbers there. All right. So now that I got the correct stuff written in, it says that it snows at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the first 2 hours. So 1 inch per hour. So that means I'm going to go over to the first hour, and it snowed 1 inch. So I'm just going to put a little dot here at 1 inch. If I go to the second hour, it said that it did 1 inch once again. So I'm just going to go over to the next one. And I'm just going up 1 inch. Okay. And it said it only did it for the first 2 hours, and it stopped snowing at 1 inch. So I'm just going to connect that line. That is the first part of this problem. So I'm going to highlight it up there just so I'm color coding so you guys are seeing where all this is coming from. It snows at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the first 2 hours. Now the next part says that we're going up at a rate of 2 inches per hour for the next 6 hours. So I'm going to come back down to my graph. So we went up 1 inch for the first 2 hours. Now every inch for the next 6 hours is going up by 2 inches. So if I'm at 2, when I go over to 3, I'm going up to 4 inches. So the point is going to be at 3, 4. If I go over to hour 4, I'm going up another 2 inches. So I have to make sure that I'm going up 2 dots this time, or 2 lines. And I got to do this for 6 hours. So I've only done it for 1 hour, 2 hour. I'm on the 5th hour, which is going to be the 3rd. I'm at the 6th hour, which is really the 4th. The 7th hour is the 5th. And the 8th hour would be the 6 hour total. So we did it for the next 6 hours. It went up 2 inches every hour. Does anybody have questions with that, or are we feeling okay? I'm wondering if you guys are getting a delay on your end. I have a delay on my own camera right now, and that's weird. That normally doesn't happen. It's okay on my main camera, but it's not. Oh well, hopefully it's working for you guys. Now the last part says that we're going to fall back and we're going to be doing at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the final hour. So that last hour at 9 o'clock, it's only going to go up 1. So this is a piecewise function because there are 3 different pieces to it. And that's why I color coded it. We have the pink, the green, and the orange. So instead of scrolling back up to part A, I'm going to put the equation off to the right so then we don't have to keep scrolling up and down. So we're looking to create our function. And in this case, did it tell us what letters to use? No, it doesn't. I'm going to call this S of x for snowstorm. So we have our S of x, and we're looking to do a piecewise. So there, again, are 3 different pieces. Whoa, what happened? All right, so there's 3 different pieces. The first piece was what we did in pink. So I'm going to take a look at that pink one, and I'm going to see if we could try to figure out what that's going to represent. So if I'm looking at my pink graph, it looks like my y-intercept is going to be at 0, so that's easy. So I'm going to have something, and then it looks like my slope was up 1. I mean, I know I'm going to be counting over 2. Come on, iPad. There it goes. I know I'm counting over 2 here, but I'm hoping you guys see that I'm really going up 1 over 1 because I'm going up to the number 1 and I'm going over to the number 1. So even though I skipped a line, it's really up 1 over 1. So I have 1x, and then technically it was plus 0, so we don't have to put in that y-intercept. This happened, we started at 0, and it went all the way to the number 2 and stopped. So from 0 to 2 is our inequality. That's going to be that piece. And because those were closed dots, we can put in the equal signs and we'll be okay. All right. The next one, the green one. Now this one's going to be a little bit tricky because we didn't do this yesterday. I gave you guys easy ones yesterday. But I have to show you guys what will happen if you're not given the y-intercept. So first of all, I can find the slope of this line because the slope of this line is saying that I'm going up 1, 2, and I'm going over 1. And again, you guys got to remember we skipped a line. So when I say that we're going over 1, yes, it's showing 2 on the graph, but it really is only 1 spot. It was only 1 hour. So our slope is going to be represented by 2x. Now, when you guys go to do the y-intercept for this one, though, this is where it gets tricky because when you look for your y-intercept, it doesn't actually hit the y-axis. So what we need to do, and let me try using a different green so it shows up a little better. We have to do the slope in the opposite direction until we hit the y-axis. So if I do that, we said that we were going down 2, and we were going, I did not do a circle, going down 2. What the heck, iPad? Down 2. So I went down 1, 2, and then I have to go over 1. So that would be the next dot. I'm going to do the same thing over again. I'm going to go down 1, 2, and I'm going to go over 1. So I'm way over here on that y-axis. So if I'm extending the line, I'm going to be somewhere over here. I just have to figure out what number that's going to be. Well, we only went 2 below the x-axis, so that means that our y value should be at -2. These ones are a little bit trickier because we have to actually count backwards when we extend it because the numbers weren't there like in the previous problems that we've done. So in this problem up here, it's going to be 2x minus 2. And now, if I go to do the piecewise, that started at the number 2. So it started at the 2nd hour, and it went all the way up to the 8th hour. Okay. The only reason it's not -4, Hannah, is because we started up at the positive. If we started on the x-axis, then yes, you would be right. And these are both going to be equal signs because they were closed dots. Now I'm just going to repeat the same process, but for the orange line. Now for the orange line, we have to extend it way over. So because we have the iPads, we can extend the line the best we can and see where that's going to cross. But we have to make sure that we're following the correct form or the correct slope. And the slope we said was up 1 over 1 because it said that the last hour was always going to go up by an average of 1 inch. So again, it's up 1 over 1, even though it's a big jump. And we have to keep repeating that process. So I went down 1 over 1 and that hits. Down 1 over 1 and that hits. So I know my dots are going to work based on how I extended it. So you don't have to keep doing the 1, 1, 1, 1 all the way down. It's going to hit at this 6. Well, now that I know it hits at that 6, I now can find the slope and y-intercept for the orange line. We know that the slope was 1x again, and it looks like it's crossing the y-axis at positive 6. And as far as this piece, it started at the number 8, and it only went up to 9 because the snowstorm only lasted 9 hours. All right, so you're good, Hannah. That's good. Now we have our graph. Now we have our function. So that is just represented by the snowstorm. That's going to be something that you guys would see, and I'm going to erase my line because technically that didn't exist in the function. That was just there to help us find the solution. So like I said, that is what's being used by meteorologists. So when you guys see graphs, or if you guys were to look at the weather forecast every day, they actually show those lines sometimes right inside the forecast. They'll show it in the pictures if you were to look through it. The last one's the easiest part now, because now it just says, hey, how many inches of snow accumulated from the entire storm? So they just want to know, by the time we hit the 9th hour, how much snow did we have? Well, my y-axis, I stopped it at 10. We're just trying to figure out at what number was it at the 9th hour right here. Well, we didn't write all the numbers down. If we do, we can figure that out, because that's going to be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So the total amount of snow in this case would be 15 inches. You guys all know the air quotes is the abbreviation for inches, right? I'll write it down just in case. I don't know how sciencey you guys are. Oops. And that's it. So for this function, that's all I wanted to show. It's the same stuff we did yesterday. It was just doing some more practice. If you guys ever see a word problem and it's asking you to create the function and create the graph, the trick is to always do the graph first. Get the graph over with first, and then go back and try to find the function. It makes life so much easier. I don't know if I gave you guys one like that on the homework. Let's see here. Well, first of all, I put that in the wrong class. This is supposed to be in Math 12. I just downloaded the homework because I did it a little bit with Hannah earlier. So, yeah, I didn't give you guys a word problem like that. The piecewise I gave was number 1 and number 2. And you know what I'm going to say? Just because I didn't put in this lesson, we're going to do it in the future. I did this with Hannah earlier. If you guys already did it, awesome. But don't worry about number 3. Number 3, we'll do that in a future lesson. So, Hannah, I know we did it earlier. Just don't worry about it. That is a tricky problem when we haven't talked about U substitution yet. Everything else you guys should be okay with because they were in previous lessons. If you're not okay with it, just make sure you send me an email or ask me in a Zoom. I know a lot of you guys don't like coming in the Zoom, so if you want to ask me right here in Twitch, that's fine. But yeah, the rest of these are very, very similar to what we've done in the past. So if you're having trouble with any of them, let me know. Yeah, I figured you would have forgotten, Hannah. But otherwise, the first two are piecewise, the rest are not. It looks like I didn't even give you guys a graph on this one. Okay? So that's all I got for you guys today. I got to go check on the sick puppy again. We just bought him. He wasn't eating his food because he's on this medication and it gives him an upset tummy. So we had to buy him wet food. And we put the wet food down inside his bowl and it was gone in seconds. So I think he's really just tired of his puppy chow. Hannah, do the one where he's sitting on the stairs, which would be, I think it's the photo my wife posted. Let me see here. I don't know how Instagram works. Oh my gosh, how many photos did she post? Yeah, it's the one that he's on the stairs. That one. But my wife wants to make sure that you get the coloring right because the light in the background messes with it. She's so picky. Okay. But yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, so I'm going to go check on him now, make sure he's doing okay because he's been having some messy poops. But all right. Yeah, see, it always comes back to poop. It always does. Well, you guys have an awesome evening. Again, if you got questions, let me know. Alyssa, 10 o'clock tomorrow. I will see you. Everybody else, if you guys want to come in at Zoom, 1 o'clock, good to go. Just hit me up. All right. Have a good night, guys.